myself Dr. Rishu Jain from Shree Atam Vallabh Jain College. Today I am going to discuss with you some concepts of composition levy scheme under GST. The composition levy scheme is an alternative method of levy of tax designed for small taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is up to 1.5 crore in the previous financial year, and in case of special category states, rupees 75 lakh of the threshold limit. Section 10 of CGST Act 2017 contains provisions for composition scheme permitting the taxpayer to opt for the payment of GST at a fixed percent on turnover instead of paying tax under regular provisions of the law. The taxpayer has an option. Turnover of all businesses registered with the same PAN should be taken into consideration to calculate turnover. As per the CGST Amendment Act 2018, a composition dealer can also supply services to an extent of 10% of turnover in preceding financial year or 5 lakh, whichever is higher. So, as far as originally service providers other than the restaurant services were not allowed to register under the GST composition scheme. This was changed in January 2019 when in 32nd GST Council meeting it was announced that service providers apart from the restaurant services having turnover less than 50 lakh would also be allowed to register under the composition scheme. So, in case of supplier in any composition levy, not applicable for tax-free supplies of both goods and services, not applicable for interstate supplies for both goods and services, not applicable for e-commerce suppliers, not applicable for notified goods that is ice creams, tobacco, pan masala, not applicable to CTP and NRTPs. Then, as far as features of composition levy scheme for both goods and services are concerned, the number one is aggregate turnover. According to Section 2, Subsection 6 of CGST Act, aggregate turnover means the aggregate value of all the taxable supplies, excluding the value of inward supplies on which tax is payable by a person on the reverse charge basis, exempt supplies, export of goods or services or both, and interstate supply of persons. Account number to be computed on all, that is the 1%. Restaurants not serving alcohol, the total tax rate is 5%. Other services providers having annual turnover less than 50 lakh, the total tax rate is 6%. That is uh, that is with effect from 1st April 2019 onwards. After that, no tax of input tax, no credit of input tax. ITC is blocked for composition dealer. A person opting for CLS cannot claim any ITC of input tax paid. Composition dealer cannot claim input tax credit even if he makes taxable purchases from a regular taxable dealer. The tax amount would be added to the composition dealer's cost. Then no collection of tax, no issue of tax invoice. Though the rate of composition tax it caps very nominal at 1% or 5% or 6%, a taxpayer under the composition scheme is not from the recipient on the supplies made by the him nor shall be entitled to any credit of input tax paid. So the person cannot issue tax invoice instead. He should issue a bills of supply to the person he is dealing with. A buyer from composition dealer will not be able to claim input tax on such goods. Then a person having different units at different places, if opts for CLS, then the scheme will apply to all these units in total. So aggregate turnover of all these units will be added to find out the limit of 1.5 crore rupees. Then a composition dealer has to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism wherever applicable. The rate applicable to the supplies is the rate at which GST has to be paid. This means that the rate under composition scheme should not be. Also, no ITCSA Rule 5 of CGST rules, that is the restrictions for the composition levy. These restrictions are not applicable to casual taxable person or non-residents in case of migration of existing registration, not applicable for tax payable under reverse charge mechanism. Conditions to mention